Hi everyone, I'm Rachel and welcome back to Conversations with Dental Friends, the podcast for dental professionals who want to level up, reset their career vision and actually fall back in love with their work. Today I'm so excited because I'm joined by none other than Anna Middleton, better known to many of you as the London hygienist, and honestly I still can't quite believe it. Anna was one of the very first people I saw completely reframing what it means to be a dental hygienist, and the way she's built her brand and her business is honestly on another level. In this conversation, we look back over her 10 years in the profession, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. From launching a direct access hygiene business to going back into education to passing on her knowledge through speaking and her own education platform Thrive. We also get into navigating brand collaborations and of course her work as a seriously brilliant clinician. But this chat isn't just about business, it's also about the realities. We openly talk about mental health, burnout, and what it really means to look after yourself first when you're a self-employed clinician. Before we jump in, one quick favour, if you're enjoying the podcast, please do hit follow. It helps me bring more incredible guests like Anna on here, and it means you'll get new episodes delivered straight to your phone every week. All right, let's get into this amazing conversation with Anna Middleton. This podcast is sponsored by VistaSoft 4.0, the latest innovation from Dürr Dental's VistaScan product line. VistaSoft 4.0 brings the power of AI directly into your workflow with smart tools like VistaSoft Cloud Drive, in-text image functionality, VistaCloud and VistaAid, all protected by cutting-edge cybersecurity. Whether you're working with intraoral, panoramic, cephalometric or 3D images, AI-enabled filters automatically adjust brightness and contrast, delivering sharper, clearer X-rays for more confident diagnosis. Take your digital imaging to the next level with VistaSoft 4.0, the future of precision dentistry. Contact your Dürr Dental partner today to learn more. And of course, a huge congratulations to Oratol celebrating 60 incredible years this year. Happy birthday, Oratol. Here's to many more years of innovation and excellence. I truly couldn't imagine the dental industry without you. So happy birthday from Conversations with Dental Friends. Good evening, Anna Middleton. The London hygienist is on the pod. Thank you so much for agreeing to record with us on Conversations with Dental Friends. I am delighted to have you here and to be seeing you again. It's so great to see you.
Great to be here. Thank you for asking me.
Oh my goodness. I think I'm buzzing. I've been buzzing all day about it. I'm so excited. Let's jump right in, I guess, and take it back to the beginning. How did your journey into dentistry actually start? What initially drew you to the profession, and how has your career evolved from those early days to where you are now?
Okay, so some people know this, some people don't, but I actually didn't start a career in dentistry. My first career was actually in sound engineering and music tech.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't a very talented musician, but I needed to pick something after school, and that was that. My mum was like, you're 18, you basically dropped out of school, can you do something? So I was like, fine. But really this whole journey started sort of around 2008 off the back of the credit crunch. The arts company I worked for lost all its funding, so I lost all my music projects. And they were projects that included youth work projects. I worked with vulnerable women. I did all these sort of community things that then fell apart. The bar I worked in closed down. The sort of restaurant I worked in changed hands. There was a lot that happened, and I was one of those that always had several jobs on the go. I think ultimately what it highlighted for me is that my sort of career in hospitality as well, that was my side thing from the age of 13 into my early 20s, was just not something I saw myself doing for the rest of my life. Yeah. So like many people, I thought I'd really like to study and learn again. And a friend said, well, have you thought about becoming a dental nurse? And I thought, this is great because I could essentially do it as an apprentice, because I wasn't in a position to just up and leave either. I didn't have the grades to get into uni. I was living on my own. My parents had relocated back to Russia. So I was literally house, dog, car, job, and that was that. But I got a job as a dental nurse, and I tell everyone this story all the time. I had no idea what a dental hygienist was before I started working with one.
Neither did I.
No, I had no idea. I had no
Isn't it
idea.
mad?
And like many probably trainees, if anyone's listening, or any dental nurses who go back to their first journey, you often get put in with the hygienist first to learn.
Nice.
Just like it's a gentle pace to not be thrown into the deep end. However, shout out to Pauline. She became my inspiration. She did like 4 days a week. I did like a 10 till 4. All the patients loved her. Went on 3-4 exotic holidays a year. And I was like, I want to be Pauline.
Yeah.
Needless to say, my sort of life and journey didn't look anything like hers. And finding my feet was always a challenge at the beginning. But that is essentially how I stumbled into the field. Like I said earlier, I didn't have the grades to get into uni, but I did everything I possibly could in my power to work really hard for about a year or two. And then eventually I got in, it happened. And I guess that was the sort of starting point. And just to highlight, it was my 10-year anniversary of qualifying this year, which feels so weird to say. I don't think I've ever committed to anything as long as I have this.
I know.
It's really weird.
I know. You're widely known as the London hygienist, but you've also made your mark far beyond clinical practice, especially on social media and within the wider dental community. How did it feel to take that leap from clinician to creator, entrepreneur and industry disruptor?
Right, in a nutshell, the truth is, the way I'm wired up is I'm a problem solution based person, firstly. So you come to me with any problem, I'll want to sort it out. I love puzzles.
Yeah, me too. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think along the way throughout this, when I first told people about London Hygienist, the concept of it, the idea behind it, people are like, that won't take off, that won't last. Like, who is this girl? I mean, more for them, because get your popcorn, because we're on season 10 of the London Hygienist show. So I think for me, that's one way to really fire me up, tell me I can't do it. And I'm like, I will go and do it. So again, it kind of was unintentional. My big gripe, particularly within the industry, was this whole narrative, oh, but we've always done it this way. I'm not saying that as a broad statement, but in my own experiences, when I was working in particular clinics and with particular people, I was coming with ideas and ways in which to sort of change and revamp, revolutionize things. And it was met with no. And then I was like, okay, well, can I try? And then I'll show you. So I was making changes, doing things, but then the goalposts kept moving. So that then I was like, I can't trust you. You're not my people. You're not my tribe. I need to be with like open-minded people. So it has felt amazing, and I'll never forget the first time I saw my name in a magazine or my picture, something like. There's a really, really, really nice feeling. So I'm so proud, and I still have all my magazine like cuttings and clippings, and
I love it.
I also wanted to show other people that if you have a dream and a passion, don't let anyone tell you can't do it. I just saw a gap, Rachel. I saw a gap, and I just saw a space that I could have a lot of fun in and do well in, because it was something someone else wasn't doing. So then when you're doing something that is different and off the cuff, you stand out. And then let's say, then imitation is the highest form of flattery, and you have to reinvent yourself. But equally, know when to call it quits kind of thing as well. Like, I'm not out here trying to compete and be the next big like TikTok star. But just I have an interest in it.
And I tell you what, the thing with looking at something like TikTok, because I have made a few TikTok videos recently, I'm always going to approach anything that I do with an element of curiosity, and I always like to think, if I'm not going with the waves, I don't want to be that person that's getting, I don't know, left behind over here. But at the same time, I do not have the mental capacity, the bandwidth to be looking to do anything with that is impactful. I really don't. It's something that, and also I'm aware of my own limitations with it, and I'm aware that my day is taken up with this, and this, and if I can slot this in here, that's fine, but I'm not going to be freaking out if I don't manage to post something, because the
the ferocity of how much you have to post is
that's a really good point that you're making. And actually, one thing I will add to this as like a takeaway tidbit is, if you do have a vision for that kind of thing and it's something you're like, I've got an idea, you're a creator, and delegate it. So for me, I always work in the 4D. So it's do it, defer it, delegate it, or dump it. And that is the best.
Oh my goodness, I need to get that
time management
tattooed on me.
And like, it's funny because sometimes I've taught it and I've said, like, just get a clean, like one of the quickest and simplest things you can do to make your life easier and feel better, get a cleaner. Even
oh my God, yes.
Once a month or every 2 weeks. If you think about what you're paying, say your cleaner for like 3 hours, and what you could do in that 3 hours, whether it's like clinically, your hobby, something personal, time with your family, whatever. It's like, it's better time management. So for example, with TikTok, if you're like, I've got an idea, like I'm really conceiving doing this, get someone to come and film you, do the editing. Like, when I have worked historically in the past, filming my content isn't something that I have done like on my own. I have a team. I give them the vision. I say, right, this is what I want to create. This is what I'd like to do. Yes, I have paid for it because for me that's an investment, and that content has been really high quality. I've used it repeatedly for months to form the basis. So there comes a point when it's worth the investment. There are so many smart, young, talented individuals out there who just do this thing standing on their head. So don't be afraid to be, well, I don't know how to do it. It doesn't mean someone else does it. So you can just think of it in a way of having a team and leveraging them. And if you're like, oh, but I don't have a budget to do that, it's like, well, is there a way in which you can sort of like trade off things and do things together? You
collaborate.
So I think sometimes as well, this is probably where I have done well, is like I do a lot of thinking outside the box. And sometimes when we're just kind of blinkered, it's not until someone
lateral.
It's not until someone else like says it or points it out that you're like, oh yeah, I didn't think about it like that.
We've touched on already about how you launched London Hygienist, but what went into building it from the ground up, and what were some of the biggest challenges or lessons you faced early on? You've shared there that you outsourced your content, which I think will be revolutionary to a lot of people.
I got it, and that's why I'm not gatekeeping here. I got a lot of things wrong early on. Everyone wants the cake, but not everyone's willing to go out and buy the ingredients and put it together and get it wrong several times. So I will save a lot of people the time and energy wasted. I spent money in the wrong places, working with people that I thought could help me, and I'm very honest about that. I think when I was working with certain people to, I guess, build the brand and the business, when I was young, I was inexperienced. I also didn't know, I didn't have my story. I couldn't articulate what my company stood for and what I stood for. So I think that then
like a mission statement.
So when people, so I say to people all the time, I'm like, sit down and write your golden circle. So for anyone who's not heard of it, I called Simon Sinek. It's about the leading with your why and working backwards. So it's your why, your how, and your what. So if you can really nail that down, because people buy from people and they also buy like with their emotions. Well, obviously, for me, my big sort of element of my mission statement was that I wanted everyone to be in love with their smile. I understand that the fear of pain and lack of control are really big barriers. And one bad experience is a hard one to shake. So I wanted to find a way that I could treat patients in a way that was minimally invasive, use the best tech and innovation to make, the appointment not only comfortable but enjoyable, but equally be led by a patient's emotional needs and not just their clinical needs. So already, for someone listening, say shopping around for a hygienist, if I just walked in and said, I cream tea, if I'm like, I see you, I hear you kind of thing, and it's kind of really what made my brand stand out. So it's all very well to say, well, I'd like to win awards or be featured in press or have a big social media following, but what is your why? What is at the heart of what you're doing? Everything that I was doing was to let people know that there are changes and that there are clinicians out there who do care and they want patients to have a really pleasant and nice experience, and we're doing things differently. So then the last part of the how is the choice of technology and equipment that I choose to use to bring back to that first why part. So I think people first of all need to think about that. They need to do their wheel of life. So where are you in your wheel of life? So basically it's categories, so like money, love, relationship, friends, business, and you scale it on a 1 to 10 of where you are. So if you're really high in certain aspects, but really low in others, if that was a wheel, it's going to be a bump, 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 bump. And unfortunately, and I speak from my own personal experience, when one area of your life is negative,
Lifting out, yeah.
your impact on the other areas, it starts to bring those down. So then what you do is when you take one of those areas that you're not necessarily happy in, it's like, well, what are your actionable goals and steps that you can take towards to improving that? So again, I think to be successful, I guess, in, like, say, business or a venture or a project, kind of need to be like in a good place with yourself, because you're the one that's leading it and driving it. I got more things wrong than I did right, but there's no such thing as failure. It's only feedback.
Exactly. I remember you saying that very early on. I adopted that early on.
Listen, and do you know what? Guess what? It doesn't change. I'm working with my coach now with my poker stuff. I'm only getting like 50% in one of the aspects I'm trying to learn, and it's really frustrating because I want to be good at everything straight away. So I'm having to relearn how to be like shit at things, and that really mentally testing me. But
I think that's very hard for us as clinicians because we have a tick list of that's how we measure our day, is a tick list of everything that goes right. And when you take away that tick list when you're learning a new skill, and that could be for somebody that's exploring their dental therapy scope, that could be for somebody who wants to move into another area, it's hard to be a bit shit at the beginning because we're so good here and we're not used to not being good. So that's a hard hurdle. Yeah.
A hard hurdle. The other thing that I think remember, a lot of people sort of maybe learn about individuals or as they go along the way. And there's obviously a massive chunk of time where I was working really hard and growing the brand and the business that no one ever really like saw or knew about. So there's probably a good 4 years that is just undocumented, but I was working on it. And lastly, I think people need to remember that my success, it wasn't overnight. It's compound interest. So it was just like tick, 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 tick. And then there was a big, I guess, a boom in presence, business, all those things. But then equally, it has plateaued. Like if you look at like say my followers, it's not like I've gone from like 5,000 to 500,000 in the place for a short time. I'm on like 16,500 for a 10-year like stint. That's who is measuring, someone's success on like what tick list? What tick list do we have for what defines someone as being successful or not? I would like to just be remembered for being like passionate, because everyone's passionate and just not afraid to just like try things and see what happens. And like I said, don't be afraid to get it wrong. I've got it wrong before, and you just learn from it and then try something new.
I remember I did a call with Joe Lovett, our friend Joe Lovett, who is an amazing person. I will link him in the show notes if you can get an opportunity to have a conversation with Joe. He is brilliant. And I talked to him initially way back in 2020 about wanting to move into different areas of dentistry, like primarily education. That would have been my biggest goal. And I remember we were discussing you actually, your ears were probably burning, because you are also tricked into thinking that you can only be successful with a bedrock of a certain amount of social media presence, or nobody will care about what you want to say, which is crap, right? If you're good enough and you have a good and strong enough message, it doesn't matter how many followers you have to communicate that message forward. But Joe said to me that you worked, grafted years and years and years, as you say, tick, 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 tick. And then everybody knew who Anna Middleton was, everybody knew who London Hygienist was, but it wasn't an overnight success.
No, and it also wasn't really long term. It wasn't sustainable. And I got to a point where I could take a step back, but you got to remember, I was getting up at like 6 a.m. and making content. I was posting it in the evening. I was still working till 10, 11 o'clock most nights. And every time I was on my phone, my friends would actually get really annoyed with me. They're like, oh, you're on your phone again. I'm like, oh, it's work. Now I'm barely on it. So I think before we jump to like, oh, but I want followers and oh, I'd like this, it's like really work backwards. Like, what is your why? What do you want to do? What do you want to achieve? Because I'll be, I'm going to be honest here. Likes don't pay my rent or my bills. Yeah. Okay. Making TikTok reels is probably the most counterproductive thing I could do with my day and time. A mental health point of view, a financial point of view, and a business point of view. However, that said, if you're like, no, but I'm using this to leverage it for my business or something in particular, fantastic, go for it. You need to not compare yourself and what you're doing to other people and how they're doing it. Choose your goals, choose your path, and then lay out the like steps towards that. And whatever that goal or dream is, no matter how big or small it is, if you feel like you feel like on fire when you think about it and you visualize it and you feel it, run with that. Like, and I know it sounds painful. Just stop worrying about what anyone else says or thinks. Just do it. If it makes you feel good, just do it.
Find the thing that lights you up. Exactly.
Yeah.
You've built such a strong online presence. I think you've got over 16.6 thousand followers now. I remember following you from my personal account before I even had a professional one. What's your relationship like with social media now? Do you ever feel the pressure to be constantly on? And how has your content evolved over time?
Ultimately, my relationship with it now is that I go on it when I want to go on it. I don't have now before I used to have like a weekly sort of plan or monthly plan of what I was going to post out, the kind of content I wanted to create. I would actually sit down and research like what's trending, what's like popular, what's cool, how can I put my own spin on it. But let's be honest as well. One thing that I've realized with my content, for example, if it's something professional and I'm trying to engage with a professional tone and head and scrubs and message, basically the response or the interaction or engagement is poor. I post a picture of me on holiday or flashing a little bit of leg or playing poker, algorithm goes mental for it. So technically, it's got to a point where what I'm trying to get out there in a professional sense, it's like the people don't want that anymore. They're like, we don't want London Beauties, we want poker playing Anaconda. Like that's what they want. Nothing works. We live in a world now where obviously like social media is everywhere you look and it's utilized. And while I feel, it was pivotal in what I did and what I've created, it's always a warped perspective than the reality, because people see a version of you, so they make a version of you in their head, and whether it's a positive one or a negative one, but they only know that from what they've seen and decided. But really, I guess in my case, in my instance, my profile has been a business page, and I am this sort of persona of the business and the brand and the face of it. But all the other things that go on behind the scenes, that's not something I share, nor will I, and nor does it have a place for me to share. That's not what I created my profile as, someone to pour my heart out online and do those kind of things. So that means a lot of the time when people say be kind because you don't know what battles people are facing or what they're going through, people have no idea what goes on outside of what they see, of what I choose to let them see. And I think that's the problem, because it's easy to get swept up. And I think one thing, and I've said it before, is comparison is the thief of joy. It's very easy to look at other people and think, oh, they've got this, they've got that, I want this, I want that, or I'm a failure, or I'm not doing well because I don't have X, Y, and Z. And actually, the reality is, the comparison part is the bit that kills us the most, because that's not going to be everyone's journey. And equally, I'm living my dream life, which means equally there are people who would like to be me probably, or see like what I do and think that's my dream life. But equally, that doesn't mean that I don't look at other people and some of the things they have that I don't have that I would like. But I'm okay, but that's my journey, and I know that, nothing is without its like divine timing and all those things. So I think it's just really easy. And what's happened with that is it makes it a really noisy space, and it makes it a confusing space to navigate. And I think more and more people are probably leaning towards a bit more like simplicity. And I think for years I just hustle, grind.
Absolutely.
Of hustle culture, boss pay, boss bet, like all those, female entrepreneur. And actually I look back and I'm like, God, that's really that's such a toxic narrative, because now I'm living a soft girl life. Doing my hours. I'm very happy. I don't have to be the front face of everything. And often people come to me and offer me work, and I'm like, it's just not for me, or it's not who I am, or it doesn't resonate with me. And I'm sending them on to other people who do want those opportunities.
Yeah.
It's mad. And also think about the content you like to watch and you engage in. And I'll be honest, all I do is like send funny reels and memes and things to my friends. Now, unfortunately, like within our industry, we obviously have a professional image to uphold, which therefore means we have to sort of err on the side of caution with what we're creating. I don't mind showing a bit of humor and a bit of tongue in cheek, and I have managed to do that in my own little ways that I feel comfortable in. But for me to create some of the content that is, I guess, what's trending or what's popular or people engage in, it's not authentic for me. It's not who I am. It doesn't represent my business and the sort of messaging, but that's my personal choice. But there's so many other people out there who have done it, and it's their personality, and it's so clever. And sometimes I think, God, I wish I'd thought of that. I wish I was that, clever in that space. But again, that's just not for me. And like I said, now I spend a lot less time on it. Because it is just so easy to just like waste time like sort of scrolling.
Oh, it's such a waste of time.
So I think ultimately, if you're going to be on it, I guess try and watch or engage in stuff that does have, I guess, some kind of maybe educational like benefit or and whatnot. Like I said, for me, my journey very much with the kind of content I create has slowed down. Before, everything I was doing was for patients. I'm self-employed. I had an empty chair. I had empty diary. Now I don't need to, I guess, pitch for new patients or clientele. Business is ticking over nicely, but that could change. Like you say, if I all of a sudden had a product or a new treatment or something, then I'll create content around that. So now I just post pictures every now and then just to let the algorithm know I'm not dead.
I mean, definitely, Anna, before I had a professional Instagram, I remember a little book came through I ordered a little book on Amazon. It was like a coffee table book. What was it called again? The dental...
the Shazma one.
Yes, exactly. I'll link it for anybody. I'll link it. I remember having it, and I saw you were in it and Lottie was in it, and I thought, how do I do that? Because it was nearly even the expectation in my practice to that redefined the expectation in my practice of what success was, in a way, because that was what it's like to be a dental hygienist but be on social media, because social media was one of the ways that the practice was going to grow. But I really wrestled with social media. Personally, I was having a very difficult time as well. I didn't want to be on social media in any form. I deleted my Instagram. It was very, very bad for my mental health. And the suggestion was made that I get a social media account. And I thought I was going to have a panic attack, actually, at that time. That was a real wrestle for me and a battle. And I was speaking to another guest, Vicky, about this, where I have had periods of time when I have not posted on my professional social media account because I haven't known what the hell to do. But as well, what do you put on there?
Like you're hitting the nail on the head with so many things. I still teach and speak about the uses of social media, and I think one thing everyone panics is they're like, "That's not my space. I don't want to be there." So what it really comes down to then is, well, how do you leverage yourself in the digital world? And there are multiple ways in which that can be done. I don't use TikTok. I don't use it. I don't go on it. I have notifications. I have work that sometimes goes out on it, but it's not like a platform I choose to spend my time on. And you can nurture digital marketing in multiple ways. So that's all that narrative that if you went on it and comparing yourself to like others, really harmful, really toxic, and definitely one that I'm like sad that when I hear about. And I remember us having this conversation before about you feeling like quite backed in the corner to be doing it. And I think I said to him, like, don't do it, because as soon as it becomes inauthentic, it's obvious. It's obvious. So and then look at some of the other people. I mean, you bring up Lottie, and she's like my dear friend, and we still speak. She's not even on social media anymore. People don't even exist anymore. people's
Isn't
lives
that incredible?
have changed. To be honest with you, I'm at a point now where I'm not really looking to continue to do anything with my business independently. I've still, got some ideas and some options which I may continue to look at. But for me, I've achieved everything I wanted to, and I'm really proud of those things.
And you should be, because it's
like
it
just
has been.
but how much higher up this like mountain am I going to get? And I think that's when I hit my wall. I was like, I'm at the peak, and I'll tell you what, when you get to the peak, it is cold, it is lonely, the view is shit, and it is a long way down. And when you get back down to the bottom, where do you go then? And like, that's the only way I can describe it. I don't know what happened to me. Something happened along the way when I just was like, I was probably a bit burnt out, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
But equally, I just was like, it was fun, but I was like, I'm kind of done with this. And don't get me wrong, I love my patients.
Yeah.
And unless you've got like sort of the variation in skill set or stretching your mind or working with different patient types, I also think it depends how you're wired up as a person as well.
Yeah.
I think for a long time, I think the business side of what I was doing, what I was growing, it was like, I guess, a hyper fixation in the sense that I could see challenges, and it was like I was gamifying my business like by achieving these little things. But then when I really think back and look back, they were all low-hanging fruits. They were just very cheap dopamine hits. And really, as much as like what I've done has been amazing and super powerful and impactful, there comes a point where you're like, okay, maybe we just slow down a little bit, and we don't have to keep like hustling and grinding. And like I said, I'm very fortunate. I have got like work. I've got a roof over my head. I choose to spend my time now in places, spaces with people that make me feel good, and only do things that I genuinely have an interest in. Like someone asked me not so long ago if I would work with them on something, and I had to just turn around and was really honest. And I was like, I actually know, number one, nothing about this, and number two, I just had to learn to say no and just say like, I'm really sorry. I just don't have the time or the resources, particularly to put something together that I don't feel really excited about. You feel guilty?
I know, because, and I think, first, I kind of want to touch on a couple of things there. The first thing I want to say is, when I feel like whenever you come into a space as a disruptor, which you very much were, whenever you come in and nobody else is really doing the social media thing in dentistry, social media thing in dental hygiene. So you come in and you set the stage, and that must have been a massive dopamine rush, because there's a limited amount of people to look to follow, to engage with, and then you get that growth there, and then monkey see, monkey do, everybody else starts doing the same thing, and then how do you change that? How do you pivot it? How do you challenge? How do you continue to be a disruptor in the space? And I think that's something that can get old pretty quickly. And
I think that the problem is now it's really super saturated, the way in which we're consuming content. You got to remember, when I was doing it with the sort of early adopters, you got to remember Instagram was just pictures with filters on there.
Yeah.
Everything's like videos now, and it's changed really, really quickly. TikTok didn't exist when I started like my business. So also in each like field or industry, more and more people have learned how to like leverage it. It's become a really noisy space with quite unclear messaging. Myself and others were the early ones that we were trying to get the correct, clear information out.
Yeah.
And even now, if you take a group of set of professionals, their viewpoints are it's become confusing again.
Yeah.
You don't know what's right, what's not right. I still have patients come in, they're like, oh, I saw like a dentist say this or a dental professional say that. I was like, oh, interesting. And obviously not to get involved in that. So now it's a really noisy space. I really sort of, but if people ask me now and they're like, well, how could one get started and stand out and be successful? I'm like, I genuinely am not sure how to guide you on that, because there are people doing incredible things with their videos, their editing. They have skills that I wouldn't even know where to start with. I think the other thing, to take it back a step as well, is while as much as the disrupt, I never set out, first of all, to achieve the things I had. I just started it, and
that wasn't your way.
And I genuinely mean that. I just wanted to do something different. I'd been let down and disappointed by the employers. I had a vision. I had an inspiration. I had something. I have a company ethos and a mission statement. So that was always my driving factor. The things that
you were making lemonade.
Exactly. So like the brand deals, the partnerships, the opportunities, they came because I just was driving with my mission statement. But on the other side of that, there's imposter syndrome. It's not nice when someone does see a light in you and you hear other people saying like, oh, why have they chosen her? What does she know? And that's people in the industry. That's definitely not the professional, the public. They, applaud me and they still are loyal, and I'm still seeing the same patients that I saw when I first qualified up to now. So there's this whole thing to like navigate. I've learned how to not take things like personally, whether it's professional or patient. It's been like a real sort of journey.
You qualified from dental hygiene back in 2015, and then you later went back to study dental therapy. What made you want to expand your scope? And for anyone listening who's thinking about taking a similar path, what are the steps involved in making that transition?
Okay, so very much similar, like I'm not going to call it a breakdown, I'm going to call it a breakthrough. So just like my breakthrough that I'm having now, just before COVID, so just the year before, maybe 3-4 months before that sort of was on our horizon, I was at a similar wrestling point. So so maybe I'm like a 5-year cycle person because
maybe
I've had enough. And I actually nearly accepted a job in Dubai. I was like, I'm done with London, I'm done with the UK, I've had enough of everything. Just a classic, let me run away from my problems. Anyway, I spoke to one of my mentors who used to live and work in Dubai, and she was like, I just don't think it's the right place for you, Anna. She was like, she obviously knows me on enough of a level to know that I would go there thinking it would make me happy, and it wouldn't. She was like, I thought about studying again, and I was like, I guess so. And she was like, can you throw yourself into something short term that would be worthwhile? And I was like what? She's like, have you thought about doing your therapy? And I was like, yeah, I probably should.
Sorry, he is your mentor.
Oh, I refer to these people, they're not just mentors, they're mentors and friends. Yeah. They're like within business and everything. But this particular person who I spoke to is Victoria Wilson. She's amazing.
Okay, yes. Yeah.
She's amazing. And she's just always taken me under her wing and been so warm and kind to me. And she said, why don't you do your therapy? And actually then when I thought about it from a business perspective, it made sense. Like London Hygienist was gaining traction. Direct access was, working well for me. But ultimately there was that thing where I could see that, a patient has caries or they need X, Y, Z, and I just wasn't really able to fully execute that. So it made sense. I went to the University of Essex. I did the 1-year top-up course. I get a lot of questions about this.
Yes.
So I had a difficult time with it because obviously then we had 3 months into the course, we then had lockdowns.
Yeah.
So 3 months I missed out on placement training. We got through it in the end, but my journey was one in which when I left and qualified, I didn't feel very confident or competent, and I make no secret about it. I'm really open and honest about it, and I actually don't do any therapy now. That's by choice.
Me too.
I'm not interested in it. And again, if I wanted to do it, I'd come home every night and drill into plastic teeth until I was the best.
Yeah.
But what I do enjoy...
And I know people who do that and get so much out of their career in that way. But I agree. I'm not thinking about dentistry in that way for me.
And every time I did give it a go, I just felt really exhausted, really frustrated. And I was like, why am I doing this? I'm not enjoying it. Just don't do it. And hey, listen, you never know. Maybe in a year's time, I'd be like, maybe I would like to
revisit.
I did
the skills aren't lost.
Yeah, I did some postgrad diplomas, which again really helped me. Even if I'm not doing the treatment, it's really helped me have confidence in speaking to patients about their treatment or their options and all those things. And it works well from a direct access and business point of view because patients see me. I'll quite often carry out their exam and their hygiene night together, and then I work in practice, so multidisciplinary, and it just has a nice flow then of being able to say, right, I'm going to now pass you on to someone, which means patients aren't then leaving not getting the care that they needed as well. It worked really well for me because during lockdown, obviously I'm still sort of a hygienist at that stage, but my business went through the roof because patients couldn't get in with their dentist or hygienist. So they were coming to me, and ultimately I have pretty much kept all of those once I got my hands on them.
I'm sure, yes.
I think it's worth exploring. It's not impossible. Everyone worries like, oh, am I going to be able to work? Am I going to be able to earn? Like, just like anything, you find a way. You find a way. You spend, the first month was full time, and then you spend 2 to 6 days at uni a month, and that can obviously like vary. And then it's a minimum of 14 hours a week that you do on placement. They'll either organise the placement for you, or if you work in a practice that's set up to make sure that you're hitting the competencies and work that you need to, then you can do that there. And it's a combination of sort of your actual practical element of stuff, but there's a lot of self-reflection, learning, talking with your tutor. And I mean, it's not impossible. People do it and they get through it. It's just a short-term sacrifice for something that inevitably, if you can see how you can leverage it, it's going to be worthwhile. I have no regrets doing it. I just wish that I got into it a bit more. I wish I was a little bit like better at it, but c'est la vie.
I know. I was here. I heard a story about a dental therapist that works locally here who is doing really good quadrant dentistry, four fillings in a row, and I just thought, oh, I'm just not ever going to feel.
No.
If I saw that in my book, I know myself personally, I'm just not going to feel like that. It's going to be a good day.
Yeah, and just like I said, I tried it, and just every time I did it, I just was miserable afterwards, and I just was like, I've got no interest in it. And obviously, I work in the private dentistry, and I think there's an element of being a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to my work. And I think had I maybe had more hands-on during my course, I'd have left with more confidence. I have to be honest when I tell people I didn't get as much training because of the whole like COVID situation, but I'm glad I did it. I'm glad that I have that if I want to explore it in the future.
Pushed yourself in a new direction, challenged yourself.
So, but again, my direction of what I want to do and what I'm passionate and interested in has changed. But again, a year's time, I could be like, no, I really want to do therapy.
Yeah. You can come back on.
This podcast is sponsored by DMI. At DMI, we understand that running a successful practice takes more than excellent patient care. It requires the right tools, knowledge and support. That's why we supply a full range of premium dental equipment and consumables from leading manufacturers. With 24 local engineers fully supported from our offices in Lisburn, Dublin and Cork, we aim to provide the best engineering support in Ireland. Our team of 8 consumables consultants are also on hand to visit your practice, offer expert advice on products and promotions, with next day delivery from our warehouse. But we don't stop there. By partnering with leading manufacturers, we provide continuous training, technical expertise and tailored solutions to help your practice stay at the forefront of dentistry. Whether you're upgrading your surgery, investing in digital dentistry, or simply ensuring smooth day-to-day operations, we are here to help you work smarter, deliver better patient outcomes and grow your practice. With DMI, you don't just get a supplier, you get a trusted partner dedicated to your success.
You're no stranger to the educational space. I know many of our listeners will have seen you speak on webinars and events and internationally. Yeah. And of course, you've brought all of that experience into your own course, Thrive, which is such a brilliant resource. I have modules from Thrive. I love them, especially when it comes to understanding direct access in practice. Can you take us back to the point where you knew you were ready to move into education more formally? What gave you that confidence, and how did you start preparing to deliver content, whether that was in person or online?
I think all of it was just like awful from the beginning. I don't think I ever really set out to actively think like that's next for me. Again, I think it's one of those that people saw what I was doing and said we'd like to work with you or use you. So again, it was a lot of learning on the job, if I'm honest with you.
Yes.
And then I think I look back to times when I've been at school or learning and how difficult it can be. So what I am passionate about is making sure that it's fun and
yes, and it is always fun with you.
Yeah, and just injecting a load of, just making sure it's very real. The reality is 9 times out of 10, unless it's a course you desperately want to go on, if you're sucked into something, it's that thing of like, no one really wants to be here. Okay, I get it. It's Friday afternoon or a Saturday. Like, let's take this and make it inspiring. And I think also when I teach, and particularly with like when I do all my EMS GBT stuff, I do GBT all day, every day. So for me, if I'm teaching, it's like, this is your training session. Like, what do you want to know? What, I'm here for you, not like the other way around. So I think also I like paying it forward. I like giving back. I don't want people to make the mistakes that I made. I don't want people to suffer unnecessarily if they can save time, energy, and money. I'm not here to gatekeep. Thrive was built off the back of everyone asking me how I did it. All the questions you're asking me
all
today.
The DMs.
Thrive was built purely around everyone asking for the recipe. So I took the building blocks and the fundamental starting points that I think if you can wrap your head around and get those foundations right, that's how you can grow. And we've touched on a lot of them this evening. A lot of it is mindset. Mindset, kind of knowing your why, and then you build everything around that. And when I say this, I'm not even kidding. Like, get yourself an A3 piece of paper, sit on the floor, get markers out. Like, just let it free flow into that, because that is how all this stuff happened. And then it constantly evolves and changes, and you take one thing and grow it more, take another thing, scrap it up. Do a SWOT analysis on yourself if no one knows what it is. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. You hear about it all the time in business. Do one on yourself. Do a SWOT analysis on yourself. I joke about it and say I'm employee of the month every month, because obviously I'm the only member of my company. But I will say, like, I give myself an appraisal, I give myself a pay rise, and I've also given myself a final warning in the last 2 weeks. It's that thing of what are you good at, or where, if you sit down with your boss and they're like, oh, what's going well at work, what's not going well at work, why don't you do that for yourself in your life? Do a life audit, do a time audit, because the more you work on like yourself and the things that you're good at or not so good at, that's when obviously then you have those opportunities, and you're inevitably going to grow into your own like form of happiness. You got to show up and do the work. It's like, you can't come to me and say, I want to lose the stone, but I'm not going to go to the gym. So I can't help you if you come into me saying, I want to be happy, but you're not willing to do any of the things to get there. And whether that's stuff you can do on your own, or stuff that you need intervention and help from other people and professionals. And I think that's where the learning thing is really important. I'm a very curious person. I like to know how things work. I also like to know why I'm the way I am, or why I think the way I am, or why people do things. Like, I'm just curious. It's like I am still a toddler and a child with the way I see the world. So if you're curious enough to just explore and find ways to absorb information, and guess what? We are so lucky. There's so much information at our fingertips now. So let's not poo-poo everything social media and as a whole. Thinking about, where do you want to spend your time in your space? And what does life look like? I'm a big visualizer and a big manifester. So I have a vision board. It's on my mobile phone. I had one for last year. Most things on it I like smashed. I have a new one for this year. But it's like, you know what? If you can feel it and see it and visualize it and feel that feeling of achieving those things that are important to you, they will happen. Don't underestimate the power of the mind and what you can do if you just set those intentions. And then once you've set those intentions, just believe and trust that it's all going to work out. Just keep showing up. But your brain, it's the neuroplasticity of your brain. It's a muscle. So you can think yourself like happy. You can think yourself out of things, and you can think yourself and believe it. Like, I walk around basically like most things have already happened, even if they haven't. Like, I live in that mindset. It's done. It's done. I'm like, I've already got the pay, the trophies, the house, the man, whatever, the dog. Like, I just act. You have to, it's weak. My friends and I call it Gucci mentality, like that you can just fuck and that you can afford.
Oh God, I think I was born with the Gucci mentality. I think that's my biggest problem. Absolutely, and I think just that's the message, and I think from so many people with education is, do it before you're ready. And if you're doing it every day, you're pretty bloody good at it. So don't doubt yourself and pay it forward.
And definitely don't stop learning. You know, that we're going to be students for life. And even if, like I said, even if it's not within dentistry anymore, and you're kind of like, well, there's nothing in dentistry that interests me. So many like people I know have gone on to do counselling, nutrition, dietitian, or various like routes and other things that we can do with all our skill set. We are people facing people. We have amazing skill sets.
Exactly. And in terms of if somebody wanted to set up an online educational platform, what would your...
Delegate. Don't do it yourself. Delegate. I did everything myself. When I moved Thrive from in person to online, it was a lot. It was really hard work. I recorded all my own videos. Someone helped me make the decks. I delegated that to a graphic designer. I used the platform, but again, I'm not very tech savvy. I wasn't passionate enough about having like a marketing plan. How am I going to get this out? How am I going to drive this and stuff? I just put it online for ease because it was hard to get people in person. So I was like, right, well, if it's online, then I can signpost people to it and they can access it. And then ultimately, after about a year, it just wasn't really driving in the way I wanted it to. But again, I didn't put any time, energy, money or effort into that. I was working on other things. You know, for me, I completed Thrive, you know. I was thriving. I completed Thrive. It was there for other people. So it was there to help them. You know, the first module was free to help people. If you can just get your mindset right and you're not interested in anything else, then that was my way of trying to like give back and share a piece of my story and journey. So I would hate to comment and say the wrong thing, but if it's something you're thinking about, you're just going to have to do your research, keep talking to people, look at other platforms that you like the look of or online courses that you've done and thought that worked really well, or I liked certain elements, but I think I could do something myself with a different twist on it. So just keep looking for the inspiration and then just ask people and research. Obviously, I know AI in the world and stuff, but like, let's be real, chat is quite helpful at times.
Oh yeah, I talk about ChatGPT like we are in a relationship.
She's on the payroll.
Yeah, exactly.
You're on the payroll now. I'm like, you know, it's like a little assistant from time to time. And obviously, don't get me wrong, I'm still doing all the work because I'm a control freak, but it does really help when you come and trying to come up with ideas where you're like, I don't know how to approach this in a logical manner, and it can just sort of help streamline some of that.
Exactly.
All my stuff was written before chat, though, just before anyone thinks.
Just before anybody jumps in.
That's one thing. I could have written Thrive so much quicker with chat there, with this free chat.
But at least you've went through the mental challenge of it, which is always good. Yeah. And on top of all of that, you've partnered with some serious major brands, Philips, EMS, Curaden. The list goes on. What did that first brand collaboration look like for you? And how have you managed to juggle multiple partnerships at once? Because I know people can find that a bit daunting. And do you enjoy being a brand ambassador? How does it keep you authentic to what you're doing?
So first of all, to answer your first question, the first one felt amazing. It was with Philips, was my first one. It was for the #ShineOn campaign, which pulled together hygienists and therapists and the sort of the work we do and what we were passionate about. There was Megan, who obviously did a lot with whitening, and she was the poster girl for that. And there was myself, trying to cut through with what I was doing, Christina with her direct access clinic, Pat flying the flag, I guess, for repping some of the males in the terms of the hygiene therapist. So that was really exciting. I didn't apply for that. I was headhunted for that because I was just doing this
necessarily
later. I was always a Philips girl. I was always using it. I was making content that highlighted the sort of product. And I guess in doing that, very similar with Megan and how she was marketing whitening to patients. People saw what we were doing. The same with EMS. Like my dream was always to get in the door, but I was like nothing before my time. And I know for a fact that I couldn't just rock up to them and say, I want to work with you. So again, I was just doing fast and asking for permission later. And actually it was funny because I remember I got a message on Twitter. This is how far back. And again, I was just posting my before and after pictures and doing what I was doing. I got a message saying, can you please contact us? I need to have a HQ, want to have a conversation with you. And I was instantly just thought, oh God, I'm in trouble. Like,
Yeah.
what? And like,
Why do we always feel that?
because I knew I was kind of skating on thin ice with a lot of what I was doing anyway. So I was like, oh God, I'm in trouble. And actually it was obviously completely the opposite. They were like, we love what you're doing. We really want to work with you. So I'll be honest, I have fewer brand deals than the ones I've been offered. I turn down brand deals all the time because, as you mentioned about being authentic, I've only worked with the brands that I feel like passionate about. And anyone can just go back and look through. I've been working with the same handful of brands for the whole period of time. It's not like, oh, 1 week I'm peddling this product, 1 week I'm peddling that product. A lot of the time, the way I position myself when I work with brands is I'm not going to peddle your product, but I will peddle the information about either the mechanism or the correct oral hygiene advice. But then that stops that whole, well, I recommend this, well, I recommend that. And obviously with some of them I do, and I'm full transparency to say that. But a lot of the time what I do to help support brands is just be their professional voice to guide patients in making the right choices for themselves by explaining, well, what is dental decay? What is gum disease? How is that started? How is that managed? So obviously gives them the education, and then those companies and brands are able to slot their products around those messages without a direct, I guess, affiliation and respondents. I think be careful if anyone's young and being offered contracts or deals or brand deals. Make sure you read all of those things correctly. I'll give you an example. Someone asked me if I'd be interested in working together. And the money thing isn't an issue. They offered me a very small amount of money for some social media content. And I was like, well, what kind of content? Tell me a bit more about what you're hoping to achieve. Because if I believe in a brand and what they're doing, I don't really care about the monetary side of it if I'm passionate about it. I asked them to send over the agreement, and the agreement said perpetual use of my images and content. So if anyone who's not familiar with that word, that means forever. And for some people, it could be really easy to fall into that trap and sign things without having an understanding.
Because you're excited and it's a goal that you're
like, wow, and So you need to be really careful. And if it's not an area of expertise, please seek professional review of contracts. There's lots of people that can do that.
I think the BDA are brilliant at looking at contracts. I know it's maybe more like employment contracts actually, but I'm sure they would signpost you in the correct direction.
That's the thing. You got to be really careful in and everything that I sort of do. I have no problem with being affiliated with everyone I'm affiliated with. As I've been working with the same brands this whole period of time, and again, it's a lot of the time I genuinely. I'm working with brands whose products I believe in and I like. And I think they're doing something either disruptive or beneficial in this space. And that's why I do it. But equally, they're not able to obviously put words in my mouth. And quite often I've had to push back on creative concepts and say, absolutely not. That's not my tone. I would never speak to my audience like that. So we work collaboratively in ways in which they're.
And that's very brave to do, especially at the beginning.
They want the most authentic version of what you're saying. And
that's what they signed up for.
Yeah. But now, again, I'll be honest with you, I've got a few running at the moment. These are, again, I sign contracts quite often a year in advance, and we agree a certain amount of content. It's not something that It's not a huge part of my business and who I am and what I stand for. It's been a beautiful additional dovetail to all the nice things I get to do. It's
an experience, isn't it? I think that's the way to look at it. It's an experience it's a chapter in the story of your career, and it's maybe not going to be a life-defining amount, or I think it's I'm not sure what I'm trying to say, but I think people put so much emphasis on doing a brand collaboration, but it's going to be, and that's why it has to be something that you care about, and it has to be something that you would endorse if you weren't getting paid for it.
Which I was doing before.
It's authentic. Yeah, and
I think people people say all the time, like, oh, well, how do you get those deals and things? And how do I get it? And I was like, and myself and lots of other, Lottie was the same. Like, Lottie was promoting another electric toothbrush way before she was working with them. And I think one thing that does feel, I guess, good about it is when such companies, remember I said how it was hard when people didn't share my vision or they didn't believe in me and they kind of doubted my capabilities and what I was trying to do. So then when you have like massive pharmaceutical or global brand companies seeing the light in you and what you're trying to do, that gives me hope. It keeps me wanting to go forward. Yeah. It also is a positive, I guess, reinforcement for others that are trying to come up in the ranks and things. Shows them that there are opportunities there, and that when you have your own spin on your messaging or your personality and those things, there are people that see you shine bright. And this isn't just about me creating like social media posts. Like, I've met some of the top head honchos in these like brands and businesses, and they're like, geez, like this person knows who I am and they want to actually speak to me, and they're interested in what I have to say, or they're asking for my input on things. That's mega. Like, I have signed so many NDAs for things, not just in the UK, but for products and tech globally, which I would love to like obviously share and say, and that's why it's exciting. Once I worked on a project, and it wasn't for a UK or European brand, but actually something that I worked on and then helped design, and it went to manufacture. When I was in Vietnam, I saw it on the shelves. It was a toothpaste. And then I was like, I made that. And obviously no one is going to believe me because they're like, no, you didn't. You went there. I was like, no, I was there. I worked with the team for 3 days to like create this new branding and packaging. So yeah, the possibilities are honestly
fantastic, isn't it? Again, from the experience side of you for your job, whenever you're writing your memoirs in 80 years' time, you could have that focus and part of your life. I think is really,
and that's why I think it's also, don't be afraid to network. Don't be afraid to put yourself in spaces. When I first wanted to make London Hygienist grow, I was turning up to dental showcases on my own. My first business cards were just from Vistaprint. I was going around.
Oh, Vistaprint. Yeah. Oh, my class from Vistaprint were the balls.
So my first cards were from Vistaprint.
Yeah.
And I went round and I went up to stands and I was like, my name's Anna Middleton. I founded London Hygienist. I found out who was like who. I kind of loosely slid into conversation. Like, is there anything you are working on in the hygienist space? Or I would go to them and say, like, I've got an idea that I think might be of interest about how to bridge the gap between your products and the hygiene therapist space. I grafted hard. And that's what I mean. When people say, oh, we only saw you on social media, it's like we didn't see all the networking events I went to, all the events where it was just dentists and I was the only, hygienist there. So it does take a little bit of, I guess, balls. But confidence grows in different ways and at different points along the line.
And let's talk about poker, because I remember whenever we met in real life in March last year, and we went to the pub, we were at the Duke of York.
I can remember the little like alleyway with the banner bed.
And you told me all about poker. And of course I kind of know a bit about poker, and I've maybe played it once or twice, but don't ask me any of the rules. But you were so passionate about it, and that was the thing that really came away from the conversation for me, was just as you're saying, how much that lit you up whenever we were discussing it.
Yeah.
How did you get into poker, and how have you managed to turn something that you really love into a bit of a side hustle?
So I first learned to play poker when I was 18. I learned with an ex-boyfriend, and we used to just have like poker nights. Friends came around, and then I was always kind of interested in it. I would maybe play online a little bit in the winter. It was like a little winter hobby. Played a bit online when I was at college. And then when I was having my I don't know what to do crisis, I was like, I need to throw myself into something. I need a hobby. I need something outside of all of this until I know what I want to do. So I set a goal for last year, which was to start playing in real life and not online.
Yes. Okay.
So I have a friend who runs some poker games, and I said to him, I want to get into it. Ever since I told people this is like my side hobby and what I really want to do, everyone's like, oh, you're mad. I'm like, well, I'm not giving up my day job, but I want to run with this. I'm enjoying it. Like, I'm taking it
Also,
so
people
seriously.
do it
I have a
all the
coach.
time.
I have a coach. That's how
Wow. Yeah.
Yes. So he said, we're having a game on a Sunday at 4 p.m. Come along. I'll pay for your buy-in and just see how you get on. And I walked in and I was terrified. It was a room. There was 3 tables, 9 players on each table, and they were all men. I sat down and they were like, are you any good? I was like, we're about to find out. And they were like, play before. And I just joked.
It sounds like a movie.
I was like, I've just about managed to remember the order of cards kind of thing. And my friend was like, be nice to her. I think it's always a little bit unnerving for the men in the room, but equally for me. Anyway, long story short, I went on to finish that night.
Wow, well done.
So I won like 300 quid. I gave my mate back the money that he paid for me to play, and I kept the rest. And then I kind of got the buzz and the taste for it.
Nice
But my next hurdle was to show up to a casino. I learned so much, and it was that thing. It was like, it wasn't as scary once I got my foot across the door. And then the rest of it snowballed from that. I joined the women's group. I've been going to like events when I see them. I'm making new poker friends. I'm actually working with a really interesting lady who runs a company called Aces High. So it's a female founded.
I saw that. Yes.
Yeah, so it's a female founded business where it uses poker as the proxy for the boardroom. So you don't have to know how to play poker. And the whole point of the workshop is what do you call it? Like a team building workshop.
Wow.
The idea is that we use poker as a mirror. So poker will show you how you show up in difficult situations and under pressure. Poker is a game of listening.
That's so interesting. I love that.
Yeah, it's a 4-hour session. The first sort of part of it, we play a game called Traitors with Aces. So if you're lying, if you have an ace, you need to lie. If you don't have an ace, you tell the truth. So we unpick people's body language. And there's a lot of things you can tell by how someone holds their cards, how they talk and hold themselves. So we go through that. Then we sort of teach you the foundations of like the hands of poker and how that plays out. Then we put you in scenarios where you have to start actively listening to what the other person is telling you. But the way they communicate with you is by their we use betting to demonstrate that. And we do some like personality type sort of quizzes in there. And then the final part is just a free for all, like a bit of a fun tournament. But one of the big things with poker is it triggers your freeze, fight or flight. So you will have an amygdala hijack when you're faced with pressure, and how you respond to that will vary from person to person. And so I always use the analogy that when I was playing, I got dealt pocket aces, which is the best starting hand, but someone in front of me bet, and they bet really big, and I just panicked and folded. Not because it was the right thing to do, just because I just was like, ah! And I think I've had a few like sort of business deals when you're threatened and under pressure, and this could be like, say, from a patient or your boss or outside of that completely, it triggers your chimp and your primal instincts kick in. And I had a business deal that was going sour, like badly, as in they were threatening me. I was really worried. And for the first time, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this one. So old me would have panicked, responded there and then, trying to find a resolution, like all emotion.
A fixer.
Yeah. And actually, do you know what? I didn't respond for a week. And then when I did, I responded. I kept it really factual. I took out all the emotion. And guess what? They folded. And I was, and I mean it when I say like the sort of playing poker and what I've learned from it, really, those skills really have sort of fed into like a lot of what I do outside. So that's, I'm not sat here telling everyone to go and like start playing poker and like gambling and things, but it's just been really interesting, and I love the study of it. I love the minutiae.
I think that's so interesting as a team, as a team building event. Is that like, so is that something that's a London-based program? I'll link it for anyone.
Joe, the founder, was looking for a luxury, for a sales ambassador with luxury events experience. And I'd seen her in an article in the BBC. And actually, I just was ballsy and I just inboxed her and said, listen, I see you're looking for a sales ambassador. I don't think I quite fit that, but I'm fascinated by you and your business. And I'd really love to have a chat with you because I do have something I would like to like talk to you about, and I'd like to learn more. And essentially I was saying to Joe, I have an extensive network of people that could really like enjoy this and benefit from this in the terms of the dental space.
Yeah.
She said, oh, come along to one of the events and see what you think of it. Needless to say, I did. And at first it wasn't like she was creating a role for me. She said, just come along. And we really hit it off. And then before you know it, they were asking me to do the hostess part of it, which is basically Joe's body double for when she's not there. And then most recently, I actually facilitated one of the tables. So it's normally the dealers that do the games and a couple of the other teams. So there's Joe and Jake. And then they asked me to be the facilitator. So I was leading Aces with Traitors, leading the games, and it was at Amazon HQ. So it was really cool to like step into that. And now I have a whole new like sort of, I guess, a tiny bit of work on the side. And it's just using some of my other skills in a space that people can resonate with and say, because when I get there I say, oh, by the way, I'm not a professional poker player. I'm like, I'm an entrepreneur and I have my own business and I actually work in dentistry. And people are always like, what? It's really interesting to then sort of see how that lands with other people. And I think for anyone else who's always had a curiosity for something, you know, just give it a go. You never know where it could lead.
Yeah.
I'm now doing something I had no idea a year ago from now I would be, you know, moving in.
Yeah. And I think if we go by Anna's barometer of having an eye for
gaps in the market,
innovation, vacuums, gaps in the market.
I was all about being an early adopter. So like, I saw what Joey's doing. I was like, I want to get in on this now. Like I can see that she's going to go far with it.
I think that's so smart, and I can't wait to see where that progresses to. I think that's amazing.
I'm going to Vegas in November to play for poker for 5 days, which I'm absolutely buzzing for. So
I will be living vicariously through that. Will that be featured on Anaconda? If anybody doesn't know,
it will be.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, there's London Hygienist and there's also Anaconda, because that's my nickname.
The most awesome name.
Yeah. What I did want to have is a space where I could share some of the fun stuff that I was doing, and it didn't feel really appropriate to be sharing it on my London Hygienist page. So I was like, let me have Anaconda_life as my lifestyle brand page.
Yeah.
Let me create content in that space that's appropriate for that space, and then keep them a little bit separate.
I think that's exciting. And such a milestone, 10 years since you've graduated, and you've ticked off so many big goals and have really been through that roller coaster of emotion, experienced so many different things, the highs, the lows, and as we were saying, 10 years is a time to be reflective. Are there any new projects, dreams or directions you're excited to explore in the next phase of your career?
There definitely is. It's been a strange one for me personally. I mean, I've had lots of things happen and changes, and it felt weird kind of putting together a little piece to celebrate and reflect on it. It's been a weird headspace to navigate, because obviously there's me, Anna, as the clinician, but then this sort of alter ego personality that I have grown and people know me by with the business side of things. And then I'm really proud of the things I've achieved, but there does come a certain point where you do stop and you start to think, like, what do I want? What's next for me?
Yeah.
And equally, it's a really hard place to be. And I'm very honest now when I speak about it, but anyone who is listening will probably have found themselves in this space at one point in their career or another, where you just think, I don't think I want to do this anymore. Wow. And then it's a really hard place to be, because you're ultimately like, but I don't know anything else. How do I find the courage to either start over or change things in a way that make me feel that this is still what I want to do and what I'm interested in? There's multiple factors that contribute to that. I don't want anyone to be fearful that they're just going to wake up one day. Certain things have happened and certain things made me feel that way. I'm pleased to say I am. Don't worry, everyone. I'm very happy that things are great. I've got nothing to complain about. It's just really interesting because also, you know, we're still young. So I'm like, oh God, I've still got to work for another 20, 30 years. I mean, depending how far they keep pushing retirement age. So you need to love what you're doing. Otherwise, it's just going to be like a life sentence, really. I guess in a public setting, I have basically taken pretty much the last year as sabbatical. I have worked the bare minimum. I left jobs and I cut back on clinic because I just couldn't face it. And I was really sad because I would be like, right, you're going to go into work, you're going to have a good day. Nothing bad was happening, but somewhere deep down in like my psyche, something just wasn't right. I also made the decision to move out of the flat that I'd lived in for 7 years because I think that was like contributing to how I was feeling. I'm pleased to say I feel so much better. I live on my own now. I live in a ringless flat. I feel I want to go back to work. I'm enjoying going back to work. I'm doing it slowly but surely. I had a lot of problems with my neck. And I think sometimes almost to the point where, this is going to sound crazy, but I thought about going to see a psychologist because I was like, something's not right. Like you start to think you're going mad. And I would start work, and obviously I wear loops, I do my posture, I do my Pilates, like all those things. But by like 11, there was just this growing, burning like sensation in the back of my neck and shoulders. And it was getting to a point where I was like, this is weird because I wanted to come to work today. I'm happy. I'm having a good day. Why is this happening? And it's this whole thing of like the body holds the score. And I don't know, it's really weird, like journey. I don't really know how to explain it. But if anyone else is feeling like that, just know that you can get through it. But like you say about the self-employed aspect of it, I took a massive pay cut. I walked away from like one of my highest paid best jobs. And I was so scared. I stayed longer in so many things because I'm not a quitter. I believe in trying to make things work. But eventually there came a point where I was like, do you know what? I'm going to jump off the metaphorical ledge. And I had blind faith that the universe will not drop me on my head. And here I am. I don't know what's next for me. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what, there's nothing, I'll be honest, there's nothing major I'm working on that I can reveal as a grand secret. But I'm just living a softer, slower, more peaceful life. And that feels really good.
I think that's amazing. And can I just actually say congratulations? Because I don't think we congratulate ourselves enough for making those big decisions. Yeah. Like that has been, I know that will have been something that was going around in your head.
For 2 years.
Yeah.
So and I really like put a brave face on, and just in the end I was like, I can't hide it anymore. And you know what, I think one thing that is good about what we do in our job, and worst case scenario, I'll always be able to get another job somewhere.
Yeah, you will.
Don't be afraid to walk. And if you walk away from a place and you got it wrong, don't be afraid to beg for your job back. No.
Exactly.
The matter is as well, like we're all expendable, I think it's easy to feel guilty and thinking like, oh, this person needs me, this place needs me. Like we all somewhere along the line will have like that guilt complex. I think it's healthcare professionals, we're empaths as well, which makes it really difficult. But eventually there comes a point where you need to be selfish because everyone is the star of their own show and you're merely just a cameo. So if that's the case, shine bright and be that star, because it's interesting, a year on, the people I am still speaking to or the people I am still friends with, the circles I am still moving in, like things change. We can't keep gripping on to things all the time, but particularly if they're not making us feel good. It's just, like I said, it's just been a really weird, interesting one because I feel before I would come on and talk about like all things like sort of dental and obviously I don't mind talking about those things, but I think the thing that no one is talking about is actually what everyone really wants to hear about
and should hear. And the skills that we have, we're not going to forget them. No. You're not going to forget how to do it. Probably if we didn't do it for 20 years, we'd still be able to go in there, give really solid oral hygiene advice, do a unbelievably good scale on some teeth and leave the patient smiling and happy and healthy, and that's what our job is really. So there's no harm in pausing or stopping.
No, and I think the other good thing now is there are so many other opportunities within the industry. There's opportunities to teach, there's opportunities to work with like brands, with companies. Like sometimes it does evolve a little bit of thinking outside the box. Like you say, there's people who are setting up their own projects, initiatives and things that they're really passionate about. We're able to open our own clinics and have that autonomy and stuff. So all those, there's amazing opportunities out there. And yes, they're difficult, but as the saying goes, if it was easy, it wouldn't be worth having it. And obviously, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. There does come an element of grit and tenacity. And it's asking yourself, how bad do you want it? And back when I was starting and doing all these things, I wanted it so badly. And I am extremely proud when I look back and see the changes that happened, the people I've met along the way, how there is such a thriving network, and not just within the UK and outside of that, with the whole world. And that's really fun and exciting. But it doesn't mean that I feel that I need to maintain my show for many more years to come. So we're having a little like season break. This is kind of like the end of this like touring era, and it is very much, there's something I've known for a while, there's like something next for me, and I think the only way you can sort of find out what that is and fully explore it was to walk away from the things that were really taking up all my time and energy.
And I suppose 10 years is 3,650 episodes of one season. Like when else in life would that ever happen?
I wish I could speak to my younger self as like a big sister, because I look back and I think, God, the amount of time I wasted on so many different things, and how I diminished my gifts or my abilities, or didn't believe in myself enough, and worried about things that became so insignificant in the grand scheme of things, made myself ill or up all night worrying about, I don't know, patient or something someone said. Whereas now, I go to bed every night and I sleep like baby for 8 hours. And don't get me wrong, things still happen in my life, but I just I just know how to deal with them and handle them.
You can handle it so much better. But I think it's such, I'm so grateful. I just want to say just already,